The call came just after 11:45 p.m. Two young men crying, gasping, barely able to speak. "Somebody killed our parents." But when police arrived at the mansion on Elm Drive, they found no signs of a break-in, no forced entry, nothing missing, just two bodies, shot execution style with military precision. What looked like a home invasion wasn't. And the truth, once it came out, would shake the country to its core. This is Dark Motives, where we break down real crimes with real consequences. Tonight we're digging into the case of Lyle and Eric Menendez, two brothers from Beverly Hills, born into wealth, who called 911 to report their parents' murder. But behind the tears was a secret. Because the killers weren't strangers. They were family. And once the story came out, America was never the same. Jose and Kitty Menendez lived what most would call the American dream. Jose was a Cuban immigrant who worked his way to the top, first in the entertainment industry, then as an executive at RCA. By the late 1980s, he was a millionaire. He drove luxury cars, wore tailored suits, and moved his family into a $5 million mansion in Beverly Hills. His wife, Kitty, had once been a schoolteacher. She gave it up to raise their two sons, Lyle and Eric, and supported Jose's every career move. To outsiders, they were a picture-perfect family, privileged, polished, powerful. But inside that mansion, things weren't so perfect. Jose was strict, dominating. Friends say he treated his home like a corporation, and his sons like employees. Kitty, once vibrant and social, had become withdrawn. Family friends later said she seemed tired, nervous, always on edge. As for Lyle and Eric, Lyle was the confident one, outspoken, cocky, always trying to impress. Eric was quieter, more emotional. He was just finishing high school with a passion for tennis and a growing habit of breaking the rules. They had everything money could buy, but something deep inside that house was broken, and it wouldn't stay hidden for long. The summer of 1989 felt normal, at least on the surface. Lyle had returned home from Princeton after being suspended for plagiarism. Eric, now 18, was preparing for his last year of high school. The brothers spent most of their time playing tennis, driving their father's expensive cars, and eating out at high-end restaurants. There were no signs, at least publicly, that anything was wrong. But behind closed doors, tension was building. Jose was said to be furious about Lyle's suspension. He wanted discipline, control, and he expected perfection. Friends described the home as cold, conversations were short, and everything felt like a performance. Kitty, meanwhile, was described as depressed. Her once polished appearance had slipped. She rarely smiled. In the days before the murder, there were strange moments. Jose allegedly drew up a new will, one that heavily restricted the boys' access to the family fortune. At the same time, Lyle and Eric started spending more and more money, almost recklessly. They bought new clothes, electronics, and even jewelry before the crime even occurred. Some believe they knew what was coming. On August 18th, 2 days before the murder, Eric confided in a friend during a tennis match. He seemed anxious, distracted. He mentioned feeling trapped. That night, the brothers watched an action movie together. It was called License to Kill. The next day, they went to the shooting range. They used fake names and bought two 12-gauge shotguns. No one questioned them. Not the store owner, not the background check system. No one asked why two wealthy boys from Beverly Hills needed combat weapons. And on Sunday, August 20th, the plan unfolded. Before I take you inside that house and reveal what really happened that night, if true crime cases like this keep you thinking long after they're over, hit subscribe. This is Dark Motives. We uncover the stories that shook families, changed laws, and left questions still unanswered. Now, let's go back to Beverly Hills. Sunday, August 20th, 1989. The Menendez family spent the evening together. Jose and Kitty had taken their sons to the movies. They watched Batman, then returned home to their Beverly Hills mansion just before 10 p.m. The house was quiet. Everyone was settling in. Minutes later, It began. Lyle and Eric walked through the front door with two 12-gauge shotguns hidden under their jackets. They moved quickly. No shouting, no struggle, just calculated violence. Jose was in the den watching television. He was shot first, in the back of the head. Instant, silent. Kitty, startled by the noise, tried to run. She slipped on the marble floor. They fired again, and again, until the house went still. It was brutal. But what happened next was just as chilling. The brothers didn't panic. They left the house, tossed the shotguns on the side of Mulholland Drive. Then, they went to the movies. Again. They bought tickets for License to Kill, kept the stubs, and even picked up food to create an alibi. Hours later, they returned home and placed the 911 call that would make headlines around the world. "Somebody killed my parents." Lyle's voice cracked through the phone, panicked. Eric sobbed in the background. Police arrived within minutes. 2 bodies, no signs of forced entry, and 2 heartbroken sons, who looked like victims, at least for a while. At first, police had no reason to suspect the Menendez brothers. There were no eyewitnesses, no security footage, and the scene inside the house was pure chaos. Blood, shell casings, and shattered glass. But oddly, nothing was stolen. Jewelry was untouched. The safe wasn't opened. Kitty's purse, full of cash and credit cards, was still sitting on the counter. Something didn't add up. Still, Lyle and Eric were treated like grieving sons. Detectives even said they were too emotional to question the night of the murders. The brothers stayed with family. They were seen crying at the funeral. Eric even wore his father's gold watch. But within weeks, their behavior changed. Instead of staying low, the Menendez brothers started spending fast. They bought Rolex watches, designer clothes, and luxury cars. Lyle bought a restaurant. Eric hired a tennis coach and traveled the world, entering tournaments. They spent over $700,000 in less than 6 months. Detectives took notice. They quietly reopened the case, this time looking closer at the brothers. But there was no hard evidence, no weapon, no confession. Then came a break. Eric started seeing a psychologist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. In therapy, Eric confessed to the murders. Lyle had planned it. They were both involved. It wasn't a robbery. It was intentional. But Eric didn't know. Dr. Oziel had recorded their sessions. And when Oziel's mistress came forward, fearing for her life, those tapes made it to police. It was the smoking gun. The brothers were arrested in March 1990, 7 months after the murders. Suddenly, the image of 2 heartbroken sons collapsed, and the country was left asking, why would 2 boys with everything kill the people who gave it to them? The trial would give them an answer, but not the one they expected. In court, the Menendez brothers didn't deny the murders. They admitted it. But what they revealed next turned the entire case upside down. The defense said this wasn't about money. It wasn't about greed. It was about survival. For the first time, Eric and Lyle spoke about what life was really like inside that Beverly Hills mansion. According to them, it was a house ruled by fear. They claimed their father, Jose, had been controlling, violent, and manipulative. They accused him of doing things behind closed doors that no child should ever endure. They said their mother, Kitty, knew, but stayed silent. The defense painted a picture of 2 young men pushed to the edge. Not killers out of hatred, but sons, desperate to escape. The courtroom was stunned. The media exploded, and the public split in 2. Some saw 2 spoiled boys trying to rewrite the story after getting caught. Others saw something more tragic, the hidden side of a perfect family. It wasn't the kind of twist anyone saw coming, and it left the jury with an impossible question. Was this premeditated murder, or a cry for help? The trial dragged on for years. The first ended in a mistrial. 2 juries, one for each brother, couldn't reach a verdict. Some believed their story, others didn't. In 1995, a second trial began. This time, things were different. No cameras, no media circus. And the judge ruled that much of the testimony about the alleged abuse would be limited. The prosecution focused on the money, on the inheritance, on the shopping sprees after the murders. The jury listened, and this time, they were convinced. In 1996, Lyle and Eric Menendez were both found guilty of first-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. They were just 21 and 23 years old. Even now, decades later, the debate hasn't stopped. Were they cold-blooded killers, or damaged sons trying to escape something darker? No matter what side you believe, two facts remain. Jose and Kitty Menendez were brutally murdered in their own home. And their killers were not strangers. They were family. Kitty and Jose Menendez were more than a headline. They were parents. They built a life from the ground up, chased the American dream, and gave their children everything they never had. But behind that dream was a tragedy no one saw coming, a family destroyed from the inside. This case forces us to ask questions no one wants to face. How much do we really know about what happens behind closed doors? And when people are pushed to the edge, is there ever a way back? Now it's your turn. Do you think the Menendez brothers told the truth? Or was it just a story to save themselves? Let me know what you believe in the comments, because cases like this, they don't have easy answers. Only consequences. If the Menendez case left you speechless, wait until you hear about Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student. No enemies, no warning signs. She got in her car one afternoon and vanished. Her vehicle was found crashed on a remote road. The engine was still warm, but Maura was gone. No footprints, no phone calls, no goodbye. Click the video on your screen now to uncover the timeline, the theories, and the chilling mystery that still haunts the White Mountains to this day. Thank you for watching. This is Dark Motives, where we don't just tell the story. We follow every shadow.